Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's Xbox Factor podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mr. BoomStickXL, and of course, with me, as always, my brother from across the pond, the Welsh gamer. Welsh, welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Boom. And I'm very happy to be here. We got some great topics. Always a good time. The Xbox Factor show. I love doing it week in, week out. Big shout out to the chat. Everything. Mate, Boom, I can't say it enough, mate. This show, I love doing it. I get so excited. I can't wait to get going with the topics.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, again, not to sound a little biased here, but Xbox is my place, my system of choice, and I really, really enjoy doing this show. Of course, I do several shows, one with Salty and Breakfast at Bowman, and I have just as much fun with them because those are multi-plat based shows. But because I'm such a big Xbox fan, being actually able and having this community support this particular show that you and I, decided to do is such a really, it's a treat and it's a big deal. It's greatly appreciated, and we have a lot to get to, so we have to literally jump right into it. So let's get to topic one because I think this is going to be a good talking point. It appears that Microsoft's marketing woes in the second and third party area are coming to an end thanks to the announcement that they have hired Damon Baker, and he has now officially joined the Xbox team as the new head of portfolio. Now, if you don't know who he was or he is, because I actually didn't know who he was, he worked at Nintendo for a long time, and apparently he decided that he was going to move on to do bigger and better things. And guess what, folks? He signed on with Xbox. Now, according to a story that I pulled from comicbook.com, Damon Baker previously worked at Nintendo as the senior manager of publishing and developer relations. And on December 21st of 2018, he announced he was leaving Nintendo after over 12 years of working there. At the time, he said, "This isn't goodbye, as I'm incredibly excited for what's next. You'll definitely hear more from me very soon." And of course, just the other day, we learned that he'd signed on with Xbox. Now, if you are a fan of the RDX podcast, and I think a lot of us are, which is, of course, run by Dealer Gaming, again, he doesn't need Little Boom's help because he's almost at 48,000 subs. But I like to give him a shout out because I do enjoy his show. He had Randall Thor 19, who's a friend of this particular podcast and a friend of many people within the community. He had some interesting things to say. According to Randall Thor on this week's episode of RDX, he has, of course, acquired some industry friends throughout the years. And according to his sources, this is a big pickup for Microsoft. Welsh, what are your takeaways with getting someone in there that we listen? Let's call a spade. The third party relationships I think Microsoft has in the bag, but it's those special second party relationships that seem to, I guess, go the way of the dodo. It's something that they were really good at in the Xbox 360 days, and it's something that they really need help with. What are your takes on getting this guy to work for Microsoft?
Well, I'll say this, Boom. Like you, until you put this topic on my lap to look, give my thoughts on the peer, I had no idea who this Damon Baker was. But the fact that he has been with Nintendo for a lot of time, and Nintendo is, well, let's face it, Nintendo is Nintendo. I mean, it's not going anywhere, and it's doing something right. It just gets me excited that this guy was very well thought of over there at Nintendo, and now he's leaving Nintendo to join the ranks with Xbox. I mean, whether it's because he's going to be getting paid more or he just fancies something new, maybe it's a personal decision, I don't know. But it's safe to say that I, as an individual and as a fan of the Xbox platform, am excited because for these reasons, Boom, for the simple reason being, if this guy plays his cards right, he could potentially set Xbox on course that will inevitably succeed. Like for me, it's one thing to market your first party correctly, which Xbox has done very poorly, but we'll get to that in a minute. Compared to Sony has literally succeeded tenfold in that category, but we'll get to that in a moment. But if you can secure the second and third party marketing deals consistently, let's face it, Boom. Again, where Sony has thrived, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. On top of that, I'd like to see this guy. I don't know if he'll have this jurisdiction, this level of power with his position. But on top of that, everything I just said, I'd like to see, hopefully, this guy enforce over Xbox the limited edition custom console bundles.
Yes.
Because once again, just look over at Sony, their Star Wars Battlefront console and their Batman Arkham Knight consoles and
God of War.
Yeah, God of War. I mean, but obviously concerning third and second party,
yes.
They do a lot of first party as well. Boom, you're not incorrect, but they also put a lot of time and effort into third party custom as well. So you've got to give them that. I'm hoping this Damon Baker makes all the right moves and all the right changes. And with the extra custom bundles, for each of your marketing deals, whether it be first, second, or third party, as you alluded to with God of War and stuff like that over at Sony, you are literally just one step towards undoubted success, one extra step. This guy, hopefully, if he makes all the right moves and he's the right man for the job, I'm hoping he'll do what Xbox has pretty much, I wouldn't say failed to do completely, but at least in the third and second department, I mean, any help is better than no help. I think the hiring of this Damon Baker dude could potentially be one of the last pieces of the puzzle. Yep. I just hope that he actually pulls his weight and does his job, as the current marketing at Xbox is absolutely abysmal. But again, we'll get to that in a moment. But no, I will say this to sum all that up, Boom, because I gave this some thought. I'm not a huge proponent on who this Damon Baker guy is, I'll be honest. But I assume he's done a good job because Nintendo speak highly of him and he's well thought of. And I hope if he is, in fact, as good as I'm assuming he is, hopefully he'll do right by Xbox when he gets his ass over there.
Yeah, well, you know what? There's a couple of things to take away from this. First of all, according to Randall Thor, he said that Damon Baker was third in charge of Nintendo of America. You had Reggie Fils-Aimé, you had someone underneath him, and then underneath that second person was Mr. Baker. That's a big deal, and that's also a really big hire. I think it's a big loss for Nintendo, but I think it's a super big gain for the Xbox brand. And you know what? What this tells me, this hire, is that Phil Spencer himself can see very clearly that there was a problem within the second and third party relations, and bringing someone with this status is going to be big for the company. And I just want to read his, a direct tweet from his official Twitter account. He says, "Hey all, overdue news to share. Been soaking up knowledge this last month as the new head of portfolio for #Xbox. Honored and excited to help evaluate all second and third party content towards our strategy. Big thanks to IOCAT and at Greenberg. And of course, he thanks Phil Spencer. The future looks amazing." And because he seems like a man of class and appreciation, he tweeted out this message. I kind of want to just read it because I think it's important. "Hi, folks. I wrote a thing. Emotions. Thank you all for all the support and amazing content from big publishers to the #Nindies, which is Nintendo's Indies program, alike. It's been an honor to work with you and to be a part of this amazing community. Be good to each other, and I look forward to revealing more in 2019. Now, look, like I said,
enthusiasm.
Yes. You know what I liked about what he said? Our team, our future, like he's already on board with the Xbox, right? Like there's no layover. He left Nintendo. I'm sure it was sad. Listen, we've all left jobs that we've been at for a while, and you make a lot of friends, and those friends, some of them, of course, become family. Nintendo, has always been known as a family company. So I'm sure that he had very good relationships with people in Japan. I think he had very good relationships with Reggie, and they're not kicking this guy out the door. He just wanted to move on. Maybe, he, like you said, he wanted to do something new and fresh, and he sees some potential in Xbox. You see, that's the one thing I think a lot of people take for granted of what's been going on with all of these hires. Yes, I'm sure that there are a lot of zeros in some of these people's, signing checks. I understand that because they're talented and they're gonna to get them to be on your team, you're going to have to pay them. It's just like sports, right? You're going to get that free agent. You got to show them the money. But at the same time, a lot of these professionals, really take pride in their work. And when they see an opportunity to lay their mark down, whether it be in the development area or in the publishing area, and they see all of these amazing plans, it gets me excited as an Xbox fan to say, yes, okay, we understand that this generation, even though it's going to end on a high note, didn't start that way, but the future, what we're talking about, next generation, is going to be so insane that you're going to be able to wear green and not have anyone throw eggs at you.
I tell you what this gives. I tell you what this tells me as well. Two things as well. The fact that, being that he was one of the head honchos at Nintendo, third in charge, as you said, he's bound to have a lot of contacts over there in the Japanese development side of things, which could benefit Xbox, because granted, since Phil Spencer took leadership, we've seen a hell of a lot more Japanese support since then. But maybe, and this is my second point, maybe Phil Spencer not only saw that this guy was a good dude and clearly had the right attitude, but maybe Phil Spencer headhunted him as well with this opportunity, for the reason being, because we need better marketing. That's the obvious reason, but also because he's from Nintendo and he might have a lot of friends over in Japan who would be willing to bring their games, like their third-party handouts, which we've seen land time and time again on the PlayStation platform, and possibly and even Nintendo. Maybe they could come over to the Xbox platform, whereas they might not have originally. But I'm just thinking, like, this guy could bring a lot of positives, and I wouldn't be surprised if Phil Spencer collared him directly, to give him this opportunity.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Real quick, before we move on to the next topic, I have to thank a few people. First and foremost, and I hope I don't butcher your name. If I do, I really apologize. Andrew Shitchild, or S Child. I don't know if I'm saying it wrong, dude. I'm really terrible with last names. I apologize. I have to thank him. He didn't give him just one super chat. He gave 2 super chats for the total of $7. Thank you so much. That is extremely kind of you to do. I appreciate you hanging out in the chat. And of course, my very good friend, my brother in blue, Al Hogan, who is also a police officer like myself, with the $20 super chat. And he says, Boom and Welsh, you two are my favorite to listen to. Keep the content coming. Yes, my friend, thank you so much. And I say this every time I talk to him. Watch your 6, sign out at the end of tour, and make sure that you stay safe while protecting the people of your country or town that you're working in. That is very important. And of course, let's move on to the next topic, because like I said, we have a lot.
I gotta say this though, Boom. The fact that he said you two are my favorite to listen to has touched my soul, man. I appreciate that, Al Hogan. The fact that everyone in the chat comes to listen to us week in, week out gives me an absolute massive buzz. But to hear someone, or should I say, read that someone's actually said it outright in black and white, you two are my favorite to listen to, that means a hell of a lot to me. I know it does for Boom, but that means a lot for me.
Yeah, you know what? Listen, again, it's we do this content creation because we love Xbox, right? But more importantly than loving the Xbox brand and being a fan is that we have a real affection for this community. And I say this all the time. I don't know how many YouTubers say this, but I'm going to say it. And I know Welsh is going to back me up on this. We could not do what we do without people showing up in the chat each and every week. Again, the generous donations that go towards the super chat allow me to grow the channel with offering prizes and gifts, which obviously I've done several times. And again, the super chats are great, but the fact that we have 70 people. We just started the show, and we already have 70 people in the chat watching live. That's a big deal for me, because I do this out of enjoyment of talking about gaming, talking about Xbox. I love hanging out with the Welsh gamer. That's why I asked him to do this partnership originally. And we do this really out of love of community. Am I wrong, Welsh?
No, mate. Honestly, why else would I keep coming? I not only do I enjoy talking games and talking with you, my friend. Of course I do, Mr. Boom. But the reception we get off the chat gives me a huge buzz. I wish people could see my face. I'm grinning from ear to here. It gives me a huge buzz.
Yeah, it certainly does. And of course, I got to thank him again live on the air. Andrew with another $5 super chat. He says, here's another $5 just to hear you try and say that. Yeah, it's pronounced Schilt. Yes, thank you for that. My God, I apologize. I hate when I butcher people's name. It's not right. I apologize once again live on the air, but thank you for the additional $5. That is really, really generous of you. But let's move on to the next topic, because that's what people are here to listen to. When you talk about positives and negatives, it's like dark and light, right? You're evil and good, the devil and Jesus. You can't really have one without the other. I mean, that's just the nature of the world. And we just had a lot of good things to say about Microsoft and the moves that they're making. And I don't want to be doom and gloom, but we have to talk about the other side of the coin, Drew. And it's the first party marketing that, man, as a fan of this brand, it hurts me. It hurts me because, like I said, I didn't go to business school. Like my all of my my knowledge that, with gaming, that I talk about comes from the years of experience. But I think that if you put me in a marketing position because of my professional background, it wasn't just chasing people with guns. I did a lot of community policing, which was my favorite part of the job. I was a youth officer for almost 17 years, working with the youth of New York City, and that to me was that was my calling card. But in doing so, I had a lot of public relations, responsibilities that I handled. And public relations, I know it's not business, but that could be incorporated into very easily marketing. In my opinion, anyway. I worked for Funkoland for a long, long time before becoming a cop. And one of my biggest criticisms this particular generation has been the very extremely anorexic, lackluster, poor, first party marketing. And the reason why I bring it up this isn't a revelation, folks. Like, you've listened to me before, you listened to Welsh. We have a problem with this. That's not what this real topic is all about. It's not just jump piling on the rabbit. If you're a Bugs Bunny fan, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm referring to Crackdown 3. Now, look, we know for an absolute fact that the game is coming out in 15 days, just a little over 2 weeks. I'm super stoked for it. It's going to be. Look, I'm going to say this. I haven't played a lick of it, and I can guarantee you that Crackdown 3 is going to work its way into my top 10 of 2019. I'm a huge Crackdown fan. I have been since day one. I'm already itching to collect those 1,000 orbs. I'm really excited for the multiplayer. We've heard from different sites that have seen the game that have said really great things about it. We just learned that from an Xbox insider that the embargo is being lifted on February 11th, 4 days prior to it launching, and that's good. That's great news because they're hiding nothing. I mean, I think that means that they're confident. But Drew, I got to ask you a question. Have you seen any marketing for this game whatsoever?
No. No, I haven't. Honestly, Boom. I'm just sending a message out to the chat now, just forewarning that me, the Welsh gamer, I'm about to go into absolute rant mode.
Go for it. Listen, that's what people tune in for.
I'm not going to lie, Boom. You've given me a shit ton of good topics this week. You always do, but this week has been specifically like one of the better weeks for me. Like I've fallen in love with each and every topic, but this one, you've given me an avenue to just rip into Microsoft's first party marketing, and I'm so happy you did. What the fuck is going on, Boom? Like, I'm sorry, but what the hell is going on here?
That's a great question, dude. I don't know.
Honestly, unless literally, right? Everyone in the chat, please listen. I can feel my vein popping in my neck. And literally, unless you are someone like me or you, Boom, that does the article digging or listens to podcasts weekly, or maybe rigorously follows these developers via Twitter. I don't know, any one of those three things. Unless you do those things, you literally would have next to no clue that Crackdown 3 even fucking exists.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I mean, oh man, this is a disgrace, Boom. Like for me, call me harsh. I really don't care at this point. Even in the chat, put a 1 if you think I'm harsh as fuck. Put a 2 if you think I'm bang on the money. But call me harsh, Boom. But whoever is behind Xbox's marketing this generation, and that goes for Aaron Greenberg and the team as well, as I know he's not alone in this. All I can say, though, is they all need to be fired immediately. Immediately. I've been very fair, Boom. Very fair indeed over the years.
Yeah,
I've
no, I
given
mean,
them
look, dude, look at all the twos.
Mate, honestly, I have given the marketing team the benefit of the doubt on more than one occasion. Sea of Thieves, State of Decay 2. Time and time again, I have given them the benefit of the doubt lots of times. But for me, Crackdown 3's lack of marketing is the final straw for me. Like I said last week, Boom, when you consider the fact that Crackdown 3 now specifically is quite literally the next milestone in game development, being the first game to actually pull off 100, not 10, not 20, not 50, but 100% destructible environments in its multiplayer using Xbox's own Azure servers. This has not been done before on consoles, probably not in gaming in total. It just begs belief, Boom, for me, how they have not shown it off with utmost pride. Put it this way, Boom. Just put it into perspective. Say you were the manager at a McDonald's branch and the cook at your specific McDonald's just plain refused to cook burgers.
Yeah.
You'd fire that guy. You'd fire that bastard. You'd be like, get the hell out of my McDonald's. It is simple as that. Why is it that time and time again, Xbox's marketing is getting a free pass? They literally do not do their job, Boom. And I, for one, frankly, okay, I'm a gamer and it shouldn't affect me. But when you ask me a question, I like to put myself in the shoes of Phil Spencer or Satya Nadella, as if like it's my business and I'm overseeing it. And if I was that person tomorrow, I would have each and every one of these people fired. And I don't think I'm out of order saying it. But again, I'll leave that to the chat. Like, I'm sorry if you think I'm harsh, but I'm sorry that it's bullshit, Boom. We're mere weeks away from Crackdown 3. It's possibly the next level of game development when you consider the destructible environments and all that. Like, games are going to be copying that from here on out because it's the next stage and it's the next level shit. And nobody's talking about it. It's a disgrace. Boom, take it away, dude. That is my rant done.
Well, you know what? It's a good rant. It's a positive rant, if you could believe it. Andrew Schilt in the chat with another $5. I mean, dude, that's amazing. He says, "Don't know why you're holding back, Welch. Tell us how you really feel."
Yeah, I went a little light, to be honest. I thought I'd be a bit, gentle.
Yeah, let me look. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, we wouldn't be real fans if we didn't clap for when Microsoft did it right and boo them when they got it wrong. I think, again, not to sound like Mooch Sports, but, if your team, your favorite team, my favorite team is Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Now you ask, how did the hell did Boom, who lives in New York his whole life, become a Pittsburgh Steelers fan? Well, here's the thing. My soul originally came from Pittsburgh, somehow got ported over to New York to where my body was, and that's how it ended up. I started watching football on my dad's knee at the age of 6, and back then, in the 70s, obviously the Steelers were always on. I like the black and gold. I'm a working class dude, a blue collar guy. My dad was a blue collar guy, so that's where that came from. So when my coach is making stupid moves, like he keeps going for 2-pointers almost every time, I want to fire him. But when he does it and he gets it right, I want to cheer him. So it's what a fan does. But I have to give a big shout out to Ernie Gutierrez in the chat, and he says something very important. I have to give him a big round of applause for this. He says, freaking Microsoft just made over $11.5 billion in revenue on Xbox alone in just the last fiscal year. Spend some of that money on marketing. Epic Game Store is advertising more than Microsoft. And you know what? Big shout out to you. That's unfortunately the truth. All you hear about right now is Epic Store. And just to give you a little bit of a preview, tomorrow's Breakfast with Boom is going to open up with just that particular topic, talking about how they are really you're making a run for the goal.
Yo, but yo, Boom. Cyber Gunter, no, sorry, M Strong in the chat. He just said, if they don't go all in on the marketing next generation, it completely defeats the purpose of all the good that they've done later on this gen.
100%. Great.
Absolutely agree there, dude. That is precisely the point. Honestly, brilliant. Carry on, Boom.
No, I was going to say real quick, Cyber Gunter. No, you can't have Antonio Brown. He's the best receiver, damn it, and he's not coming to the 49ers. Sorry. But anyway,
hasn't Antonio, not to make this a sports show, but hasn't Antonio Brown quit the Steelers though?
You know, there's a lot of stuff going on at the Steelers. Listen, I don't want to get Ajita live on the air, so let's stop talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Shame on me for bringing it up. My heart's broken, but it is what it is.
No, Boom. In relation to the topic, it was a good analogy. It's the same with the Vikings with John D. Filippo. Like, the more and more he was losing us games, I was like, get him the fuck out of our bloody. I don't want him to be our offensive coach. Get rid of him. At the end of the day, it's like my McDonald's analogy. I use McDonald's because a lot of people can relate to McDonald's because everyone knows what McDonald's is. Not a lot of people, maybe not everyone watches sport, but with McDonald's, if you're a manager of a branch and your cook decides one day, do you know what? Fuck you, boss. I'm not making burgers today. Your answer would be, well, fuck you. If you don't do your job, you're fired. And that's why I can't understand that, like, after all this time, and now with a huge game like Crackdown 3, like, on the horizon, and there's nobody talking about it, and the marketing is literally sitting on their hands doing fuck all, I can't believe they still have jobs. It absolutely blows my mind.
You know, look, here's the thing. You know, when you talk about marketing, you know, there's somebody in charge, and of course there's a team. Like, not, you know, Aaron Greenberg, his title is head of marketing. I don't know if that is an actual legit marketing, because look, I like Aaron Greenberg. Like I said, I told my story before how he helped me out personally. I'm always going to be very grateful to Aaron. He's a very lovable human being. He's very charitable. He's constantly donating time and money to charities, and he's very public about that. So all of that is great. But at this end of the day, we have to remove ourselves from that and talk about this as a business, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And yes, Microsoft at this point is they're look, again, I'm not turning this into a console war shenanigans. I just kind of want to throw this out there, okay? Everyone talks about almost 100 million consoles sold for PS4, and that's great for Sony. But at the end of the day, if you look at the monies that Microsoft is making on Game Pass, on all of their Microsoft services, on Xbox Live, on Xbox, you know, the subscription service here, this, that, and the third, they're making money hand over fist. And they're always in the green, no pun intended. And, you know, again, some of that has to be back-ended into the marketing. And I just want to talk about Crackdown a little bit, because, you know, no one is giving this game. See, this game got a lot of shade for a lot of reasons. You know, we saw it originally displayed at a Comic-Con where they had drunk stars playing. It didn't know how to play games. It was terrible. We know that it has a long development woes. Yes, we understand that. But, you know, it wasn't because the game sucked. It was because they were trying to figure out the technology. And finally, we're getting the destructible environments via the cloud, via the Azure servers. And, you know, again, why this is important to Microsoft, why this is important to the fan base, is because this is the test dummy, if you will, for all of Microsoft's first-party games moving forward to use this technology. And they apparently got it right. And that's a big deal. And, you know, again, here's the thing. You know, Sea of Thieves had a lot of swag, right? They didn't have a custom console because I would have bought it. I don't play the game, and that's fine. But I would have purchased it because I think the controller was gorgeous, which I own. We have nothing for Crackdown 3. We have no controller. As many controllers as they release, why not a special edition? What do you call it? You know, controller. You know, I'll buy it in a second. You know, I mean, a perfect example.
They did an anti-grease chicken controller for PUBG.
They did an anti-grease.
Like, why not do a controller? Like, at the very least, a controller for Crackdown. Christ.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, real quick, Creeper, who says he has to go. Enjoy the great show, guys. Thank you. He drops a $10 super chat. That is a big deal, Creeper. Thank you so much for that. It is greatly appreciated. And listen, again, the generosity of this community has been nothing short of breathtaking. So thank you again. But to get back to Crackdown, it's look. We know that Inside Xbox is coming on the 5th. All right. And we're going to be doing a post show next week because obviously, we're going to go live. I think it's the day after. Right. So we're going to be able to talk about it. I've heard, I know you've been reading the tweets that Crackdown 3 is going to be there in a big way. And I mean, like a really big way. I think it's necessary. But here's my question to you, Welsh. At that point, there are 10 days to the game coming out. Is the Xbox Inside Xbox, with this big Crackdown 3 blowout? Is it little too late, or do you think it's right on time to get Crackdown in people's minds?
I'll be perfectly honest, Boom. It really, quite frankly, even if they did the whole Inside Xbox show set like Crackdown 3 centric, they talked about nothing else but Crackdown 3. We're in the same position we were in right now. Because what are we talking about here, Boom? We're on about the case. The simple fact of the matter is, unless you're someone like me and you that does the article digging or listens to these podcasts weekly, and in that same category, the kind of person that would watch Inside Xbox, which frankly, again, just to be specific, is not the casuals.
Right.
Then what good is it? Like you're basically exclusively only showing your game on a Xbox show that only the hardcore Xbox fan would sit through to watch, which are the same people that already know Crackdown 3 exists. But it's the people that don't know Crackdown 3 exists, like the casuals, that you need to be marketing to. So no, I wouldn't say it's too little too late. It's just pointless in the sense that the only people that would be sitting to watch that show are the people like me and you anyway. So we're in exactly the same position.
Yeah, again, we got to shout him out. Ernie Gutierrez in the chat says, and I'm thinking the same thing. That's why I want to, kind of go right back to him. No special edition controller for Forza Horizon 4, State of Decay 2, or Crackdown 3. What the hell? And you know what? I guess if you like chicken and you like PUBG, there's a greaseless controller for you, but there's none for any of their first-party games. Listen, I don't know, what's going on. Look. Let me just say this. First of all, I am the kind of person, listen, everyone that knows me listens, like I got the tagline because they used to call me this on my beat when I was a cop, officer friendly. I really enjoyed that because that's the kind of cop I was. I had a hello and goodbye for everybody. Old, tall, fat, black, white, purple, didn't matter. Everyone mattered to me as a human being. That's how I live my life. That's how I am. Off the air, on the air, and when I was doing it professionally. And I want to say this publicly. I never want to see anyone lose their job. I really don't, because everyone has families, right? And everyone has responsibilities outside of their job. And to lose a job, it would be devastating. There are people in the chat here that can relate that lost jobs, and then you sit with that, with the what the f what I'm gonna do? Like I'm in trouble. How am I gonna feed my family? Now I'm sure Aaron Greenberg makes a lot of money, and I'm sure he has investments, and I'm sure he's vested in. So if they did decide to make a change, he wouldn't be in the poorhouse. But at the same time, I never want to see anyone lose their job. I just think personally, as someone who's been part of Xbox Live since its inception, and who is completely on board with everything Microsoft is doing, I think there's some change that needs to come down the line. Again, especially when we're talking about next generation, because, next year, 2020, when both of these new consoles are supposed to come out, again, supposedly the PS5 and the Xbox Anaconda with all the other systems, it gets set back down to zero, right? How many console sales? Console sales at that point mean nothing. But the marketing is going to mean something. And if they have the same kind of ideology that they have now, that's an epic fail. Again, this is my take on it. Welsh, am I wrong?
No. And I want to say as well, Boom, I hope I don't come across as the harsh bastard that wants to see people lose their jobs neither. But I grew up with a simple notion. My dad used to say to me, work hard, get paid, get paid well, support your family, do everything you're told to do, and everything will come back full circle, good karma kind of thing. I believe personally it's a simple science. If you don't do your job, you don't deserve your job. So I don't think it's a case of losing your job more than it's the case of this person obviously didn't respect their job enough, whoever it is. Taking all bias out of the equation, Aaron Greenberg and his team might be absolutely phenomenal people who I'd quite frankly like to have a beer with and watch the NFL with and have a good weekend on the piss with them. Who knows? They might be best friend material, best man material at my wedding. But again, if I'm your boss and you're not doing your job, there's the door.
Yeah,
but I completely agree with what you're saying, Boom. Don't get it twisted. I don't want to see anyone lose their job at by say dips in money and like they have to make cuts or fire people because they can't afford to pay them. Shit like that is horrible. But if you as an individual aren't doing your job, then you very much deserve to lose your job.
Yeah, and I mean, well, look, I mean, here's the thing. I think that's simple theory. I think it's strong, your point, and it makes a lot of sense. And I don't understand at this particular point in the game why a change has not been made. Maybe something is coming down the pipeline that we'll hear about. But you know what? I want to move on to the next topic, and I kind of want to say
one more thing, though, Boom.
No, sorry. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
All I want to say on the back of what you're saying is I strongly do believe that change will come, because if it doesn't, then you're falling right into the hands of what Einstein I believe it's Einstein. He used to say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yes.
So if you've got Aaron Greenberg and team sitting on their hands, eating donuts with one hand and, drinking coffee with the other hand when work needs to be done and they're not doing anything, and Phil Spencer sits back and goes, it's okay, our marketing team is covered. We got Aaron and the gang over there. And you keep paying these guys to just sit on their hands and do nothing, expecting people on the casual side of life to know that crackdown exists, then that's insanity, because nothing's changing. Like if you want next generation to be a success, you've already employed this Damon Baker dude. That's a good start. He's going to cover second and third party. Now's the time to focus on someone who's going to step up to the plate and expose our first party offerings, especially with these new acquisitions. Boom. Next gen is going to be huge for our first party, and you cannot let the team down, the whole squad down, with bad marketing. Otherwise, what is the point in all these acquisitions?
No, absolutely. No, again, perfectly well said statement. Very fair. Very precise with what you're saying. And if you look at the chat, which has been completely on fire, I don't think there's a person in here disagreed not with either of us, and that's a big deal. But you know what? Here's why I think we're starting to see a change. Okay, and I say this all the time because I want this point to be out there. When you take a ship the size of Microsoft, and you start to, you want to turn that ship, it doesn't turn on the dime. You're not turning a skateboard. You're turning a big ship, and sometimes it takes a little while to kind of get around the corner, if you will. And I kind of want to talk about the third-party marketing deals that seem to be lacking from 2018. Between 2013 and 2018, their marketing, with third parties wasn't strong. But I thought about it. I kind of went through the numbers. I pulled up a couple of articles. I confirmed a few things. And when I put this list together, I thought we had to talk about it because, again, as badly as the first party is marketing, and we'll complain until change happens. This is one of those stories that, of course, turns the coin, and I have to applaud Microsoft. Now, you're asking, well, Boom, what are you talking about? What third parties do they have? Well, let's break this down. As we know, the third-party marketing seems to be in full effect in 2019, with Microsoft pushing the envelope with, and get this, folks, The Division 2, Anthem, Devil May Cry 5, Metro Exodus, Mortal Kombat 11, and again, according to rumor, the upcoming Cyberpunk 2077, which is rumored to release this year. Now, I don't know if it is. I'd have no inside information, but that's what we've heard. That is an unbelievable list of games that they're marketing. And that's what we know. Like, obviously, I have to talk about E3 for a second. Sony isn't going to be there. So those third-party marketing deals that Sony would normally have up on their stage, they don't have anyone to go to. Who are they going to go to? They're going to go to Microsoft. So if you take some assumptions here, along with what we know, and you kind of put it into the pot and you mix it up, it looks like it's going to be an incredible 2019 in regards to third-party marketing. And this is the kind of shit that I want to see happen. I'm sorry. I normally don't curse, but now I'm going to go on a rant. I'm an Xbox guy, right? I have all three systems. I'm proud to support the Nintendo Switch and, of course, the PlayStation 4 Pro. I have it. I love it. I love their first parties. That's what I play on those systems. On the Xbox One X, I play all third-party games. So, as a fan of someone who has seen over the last couple of years, third-party marketing deals go to Sony and they get the exclusive gun or the hat or the saddlebag or whatever. I would like to see that kind of move over to the console that I play all my third parties on, and it looks like this is going to be a huge deal. And it also appears, again, that Phil Spencer understands that the third-party marketing deals sells consoles. The way Sony did it in 2017 and 2018 is there were some of my casual friends who do listen to me, but are what you consider the casual gamer. They thought that Destiny was an exclusive to the PS4. They thought Red Dead Redemption 2 was an exclusive to the PlayStation 4. Why? Because Sony really put the pedal to the metal in marketing, and they kind of, I don't want to say they fooled anybody, but they really put it out there, and there was, Microsoft didn't have those deals, but now they do. So here's my question to you. Are you excited to see Microsoft go heavy with these third-party marketing deals, and will it matter getting a head start before the next generation?
Absolutely. Everything you just said, Boom, I just want to commend you. Absolutely bang on the money. This is 100% the right move. I really hope to see this level of aggression, more of this aggression in the future. I do not want to see this ball cease to roll, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
I've said it countless times, like this right here, what we're talking about, whether people want to agree or disagree, calling a spade, this is 80, maybe even 90% of the reason why Sony's PS4 has wiped the floor in the unit sales this generation. Like, literally, like, they have just, the aggressive marketing on the third party front, like, forget their first party for just 2 seconds. We know they're amazing in that department too, as we've discussed. But like you said, Boom, and you could not have said it better. I remember early on in this generation, the amount of people, not all of them that I knew on a personal level, but people I met through Twitter or YouTube or whatever, or through Xbox Live, the amount of people I would speak to that genuinely believed that, like, and I can't believe it. It pains me to say it out loud. It's almost embarrassing. But people actually believe that Call of Duty, one of the biggest third-party multi-platform games in the world, most renowned, they actually believed that Call of Duty was a PlayStation exclusive due to the marketing, which I can only commend Sony for the way they did it. Call it, whether it be the case of fooling people or hypnotism or some sort of occult activity, whatever they're doing over there, it's working. And I want to see that level of aggression because, like I said, and I stand by this, it is probably 80 to 90% of the reason why Sony's PS4 has been so successful this generation. And I'm glad to see Xbox with that level of aggression. That list of games, Boom, is phenomenal.
They're all big games, dude. All of them.
Mate, Anthem alone is huge, and then
Yeah.
you've got the other bloody 7 or whatever you released, and you said. And speaking of Call of Duty, someone in the chat, I don't know if it's fact or speculation or just a rumor, but someone on the chat further up said that Call of Duty is coming back to Xbox as a marketing deal.
You know what? I don't know who it was. Just announce yourself in the chat because I'll give you a personal shout out. I think he or she is on to something. I
Yeah.
heard rumors. Like I said, I normally don't like to report on rumors. I really like to have 2 or 3 articles. I do a lot of fact checking. Sometimes I get it wrong. Sometimes I make assumptions, and you know what? I get it wrong, and I call myself out for doing so. I think a good host does that. But I've heard that Call of Duty could be possibly leaving Sony to come back to, of course, the Xbox brand where it started. And if that happens, folks, let me just
That's
tell you right
huge.
now, the effing writing is on the wall. This is how you end a generation, and this is how you start a new generation with these third-party marketing deals, with stronger, more powerful hardware, and a kick-ass lineup of first-party shit. Listen, I'm getting goosebumps talking about this, folks. But I have to say a real big shout out to Caboose V42, who's a super fan of the show, very generous young man. He says right now, if you pre-order the Division 2 on the Xbox Store, you get a free month of Game Pass. Dude, that's freaking awesome. I did not even know that. And of course, again, marketing deals, right? We know this is what happens. You get a little extra for buying it on the Xbox One, besides playing it on the X and getting better graphics and better everything else. So there's that. But you know what, Welsh? I kind of want to move on to a really super huge topic, and it's regarding E3. And and you and I talked privately about this. I sent you the Larry Herb interview with Phil Spencer. It was he has his weekly podcast. He's been doing it a very long time. But what's interesting about this is that in episode 633 of Larry Major Nelson Herb's podcast, he shocked the world by having Phil Spencer for the entire 46 minutes. He didn't just sit down and be like, okay, Larry, answer 3 questions, I'm out. He was there for the entire interview. I'm going to add it into the show notes. If you didn't listen to it, if you're an Xbox fan, if you are a Phil Spencer fan, you want to listen to this interview because he really dropped some real serious nuggets. I want to talk about that for a second because, Phil Spencer sat down. He was very candid. He was very honest, but he was very enthusiastic about E3 2019. And I kind of want to just talk about a few things. The first major piece of news Phil Spencer dropped was that Playground Games and Rare are working on new projects, and that's a really, really big deal. And it is possible that we could see something from these teams. We can almost guarantee that E3 2019 is going to showcase Ninja Theory's project and a few others. But you know what? Is Playground developing Fable 4? Well, I think that we might find out at this E3. And you know what? According to Phil Spencer, he says, I saw what Playground is working on. I saw what Rare is working on next. Their continued success with Sea of Thieves and what they're currently working on is going to really turn heads. That gets me super stoked. But you know what? That wasn't all that Phil Spencer discussed. You know what? I just want to read a couple of quotes from him because it was important. When asked about, specifically what they were thinking about doing for E3 2019, now that Sony has pulled out, this is what he had to say. And I quote, "This is going to be a fun E3 for us. We had a discussion internally. Should we go big? Should we save some money? No, we're going to do our thing, and it's going to be as big an E3 as we've ever had. And I love the opportunity to be with our fans and the industry. We're still going through some of the discussions on how much long-term and how much near-term games we want to talk about. I'm a proponent for being as transparent as can be. I feel really good about our plans. The content that we'll have will be great, and we'll talk about our future. We'll talk more about what the Xbox brand means to us. We have millions of Xbox customers. We see them on a phone or on other devices playing games for the Xbox platform. Drew, what does this statement say to you as a fan of this brand?
To be honest, there's multiple boom. I specifically highlighted a couple as well. The one what you mentioned, pretty much most of them. But the fact that he was like, should we go big? Should we save money? No, we're going to do our thing, and we're going to go as big as E3 if we have ever been. Behind the scenes discussions on how much long term and how much near term do we talk about. The fact that he specifically said, I'm a proponent for being transparent. These are all good things, Boom. I wish I'd tuned into this particular podcast with Major Nelson live. But him saying about one thing I was doing on holiday, playing on the X-Cloud.
Yes.
It'll be years before the primary way that people play, but let's just look into the future a little bit. That's amazing, man. And then to drop that Playground Games and Rare are working on brand new projects. I mean, I knew Playground Games was Fable, hopefully. But the fact that Rare is working on something new, I mean, all of these things, Boom, everything you just said, it's very, very exciting stuff. I think it's phenomenal. I have to ask you though, Boom. I'm gonna throw a question your way.
Yeah, do it.
It's kind of similar to the question, like you initially asked me, but I want to throw it back to you because I know you're the host, but I think I want to get your perspective first before I go into it myself. But in your words, I just want to know, in your words, after everything Phil Spencer has said, those main points that I just listed, then for you, what do you expect to get out of E3 2019? Like for you, what does it need to resemble for you in order for it to be a successful E3?
Okay, well, yeah, that's a great question, and I love when you throw back the questions on me as well because we're partners here. We do 50-50 on everything, and that's why this show it flows so well. Here's the thing. What I heard from this interview was a very professional and polite head of Xbox, a guy that sits on the right hand of Satya Nadella, okay, has his ear directly. And you know what I heard him say? Again, I'm completely paraphrasing here. This is my opinion on it. He said in the most possible, nicest, most professional way that you can say anything, we're going for the effing juggler. That's what I heard. Okay.
Clapping you, Boom.
Okay.
Carry on.
That's again. Look, I'm going to add it in the show notes, please. I listened to the interview 3 times because a lot of the notes that I take, I transcribe. I mean, a lot of the stuff I get from sites, and I will call those sites out by name, so you can check out the articles. But I transcribed a lot of this, and that's what I heard. I heard that okay, we were thinking about, do we go big, do we go small? Now we're just going to be as big as ever. In fact, this is going to be the biggest E3. That tells me that yes. Again, I'm paraphrasing here. This is my opinion, so don't take it for gospel. I heard him say, Sony fumbled the ball. I just picked up the rock and I scored a touchdown and I did a flash dance in the end zone in their face. That's what I heard. Okay.
That's what I heard too.
That's what I heard. And you know what? Good on him for being a gentleman. Good on him for being polite, but also letting the fans know that they are not taking this shit lying down. And again, I don't know how else I can basically say it. Look, the bottom line is there's a couple of ways you have to look at it. First of all, why this excites me as an Xbox fan is very simple. There shows a seriousness to what they're thinking about doing. Like, I'm not saying that the Xbox brass wasn't serious about 2013 to 2018, right? I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's an emphasis on the future. I'm saying that there's an oomph, if you will, in everything that they're doing to make sure that this generation is not repeated in the start of the next generation. And it's blatantly obvious what they have to do. Sony You can say whatever you want about them. It's arrogant. It's stupid. It's mishandled. They don't have anything to show. They're poor. They don't have enough money. They want to save a couple of bucks. All of these shows that they've pulled out of, the smaller ones, I can understand it because they didn't have anything to show. To remove themselves from E3, I think this is going to be devastating for that company. And I think with what Phil said, what we're speculating, what we're hearing, what we think we're going to see, I think this is a golden opportunity for Microsoft to kick them when they're down. I'm sorry. If that sounds rough, I apologize. But if Sony did it to Microsoft, right? Remember E3 2013?
Absolutely.
This is how you trade games, right? This is how you lend games to your friend. That's come on, man. I mean, that was a kick in the teeth. So this is an opportunity for Microsoft to go big and really have remember this, the eyes of the world watch E3. We're not just talking about the States. We're talking about the world watches E3. The media coverage on this is on local news programs who don't give a shit about gaming, but they care about ratings. And you talk about E3, it's a big deal. Have I said anything too outrageous, Welsh?
No, mate. Everything. Well, yes, everything you've said is outrageous, but in the best possible way. Like how you paraphrase. Like honestly, there wasn't a person in the chat who disagreed with you. The amount of people who said that's what I heard too. Boom. Honestly, it couldn't have been any more respectful and professional, which is something that we very much have come to know and love about Phil Spencer. But in his own little cryptic way, he was literally saying like, Sony, you turned your back. I'm going to stab you between the shoulder blades. It's quite amazing. I like for me, like with E3 2019, like and this just goes hand in hand with everything you just said as well, Boom, because it's so true. The man is an absolute. The man's a genius. The man's amazing. Like the fact that he was like, I'm a proponent for being transparent. That is very important. And should we go big? Should we save money? They could have quite easily just turned on their side and gone, well, Sony's not going to be there, so we'll just put on a little show and just make our presence known. But because our main competition isn't there, we don't really need to do much. No, he slapped that notion out of the room, and he's gone, hey, E3 2019 is arguably the most important E3 event in our Xbox history so far. And I'll explain why, Boom. For the simple reason being, they need to bring it to the table more than ever, as it is absolutely imperative that Xbox ends this generation with everyone having Xbox on the mind.
Yes.
They literally, right? You said it as well, Boom. I'm gonna quote what you said. We don't want a repeat of this generation.
Yeah.
And I completely agree. I think what they want to do, and 2019's E3 is a staple for this, I think they want to begin and end next generation the way this generation has ended.
Yes.
On a massive high, doing everything right, listening to every gamer, and it starts with this E3. Yeah. They need to be transparent. Like he said, he's a proponent. They need to be completely transparent. They need to end with everyone knowing what the hell is going on over there at Xbox. E3 2019, in a nutshell, needs to be quite simply a conduit, a physical manifestation in terms of a stage presence of a roadmap.
Yes.
We need to, we honestly, that staged Boom, E3 2019 needs to be a symbol of what we can expect to see over the course of the next 4 years. And beyond. From games, services, new technology, peripherals, everything. And like Phil said, and just to be even more specific, to be transparent. This roadmap, you need to be as transparent as humanly possible. It is the first steps, Boom, in hopefully ensuring a very positive impact and beginning to the next generation for Xbox. Full consumer confidence is needed for casuals all the way to the hardcore audience. Phil, team, E3 2019, the guys behind it, whoever's orchestrating it, just keep this in your mind. Do not leave a stone unturned.
Yes, absolutely. Well said. Well said. Real quick, I have another quote from Phil Spencer. I want to talk about it because you mentioned it. But before I do that, Smitty Smith, big fan of the show, with the amazing $10 super chat. And he says, "Damn, Boom and Welsh are the tag team champions of YouTube." That's awesome of you to say yes. And I do put on a really good camel clutch. So look out. He says, "This show is just fantastic from beginning to end, week after week. Keep it going, fellas. Thank you." No, thank you. Thank you. Thank everybody in the chat. A big shout out to the two big sheriffs here. Of course, UK Dazarus, known by everyone, but Lethal Papa, who was recently added to the sheriff lineup, that if you get out of line, he will kick you to the curb. And of course, Andrew with another $2 super chat. I cannot thank you. Your generosity today has been really just unbelievable. He says, "No crackdown marketing, blue budget on E3. Well, I mean, I hope not. But getting back to Phil Spencer and what he said, this was an important quote, and you mentioned it, and I kind of want to talk about it for a second. One thing I was doing on holiday was I was playing games on the xCloud. We want to make sure we get it as right as we can. We want to test it to anyone else on the service. I'm just playing. It'll be years before this is a primary way for people to play games, but let's think about our future. We should also have these 5 to 10 year views on where things can go." And I like the fact that he's talking about xCloud again.
Hello.
Uh,
But
I'm here. I'm sorry. Where did I end? Because I was on mute.
you barely started. You literally were on.
Holy moly.
You said about the X Cloud. You said this, it won't be the primary way for us to play, but let's think about the future. And about
Okay,
3 seconds
yeah,
after that, it cut out.
some reason it went off by accident. I apologize. Let me get back to what I was saying. Um, why this is important, why the mention of xCloud is important to gaming, it's important to Xbox, important to gamers, is because Sony did something really magnificent this generation, and that was getting the casual market. The casual market, out of the 100 million, near 100 million consoles sold for the Sony PlayStation 4 and the Pro, are probably, I like to say 75%. Some people have quoted even higher. And that's not an insult. That's just, the PlayStation 4 is the more popular system. So in turn, it's going to be the one that people are talking about in the office. Like, oh my God, did you see Spider-Man? No, what system is that for? It's for the PS4. And it's only $199. My God, I have to go buy 6. So this xCloud, right? It's not really, it's important to the hardcore, but it's not something that they're marketing to us. They're marketing the Anaconda to us, right? We're going to go out and buy a $500 or $600 maximum, console that has all the power, all the bells, all the whistles, 4K 60, HDR, Dolby Atmos, you name it. It's going to have everything. But that's the hardcore, and that's who they're going to market to. But the xCloud, Welsh, I think that this is an opportunity to really snag that casual market that Sony did so well in this generation. And if you price this thing at $100 or $150, people who are not a part of the ecosystem, or the ecosystem, I'm sorry, of the Xbox platform, may consider going over. Why? Well, the system's $100. Oh, and for $10 a month, like Netflix, you can get over 200 games. Am I on to something?
No, boom. That is precisely where transparency comes in. Use E3 2019 to market this little machine for the casuals. Take a leaf out of Sony's book. This xCloud little box for the 150 price mark, or whatever it is the key to branching and expanding to the casual market. Use it. Don't waste the opportunity. You are absolutely bang on the money, Boom.
Yeah, I mean, look, let me just say this. It's really important to what I really enjoyed about this interview was you saw Phil Spencer as clear as day, clear as glass, right? You keep saying transparency, and he said it, and I'm gonna say it, and I think everybody in the chat is gonna say it because it is a big deal. It is a big deal to let your fan base know what you're doing. There was a lot of misdirection early in this generation, and a lot of people got annoyed with that. I was one of them. Like I said, I will cheer Microsoft, when they do the right thing. But, as a fan, I think it's only right if I call them out on their shit. And if they're doing something wrong, I think that as a fan, you have to do that. You can't just say, be, a flip flopper and say, okay, I'm cheering for them now, and I don't care what they're doing bad. And when they do bad, you turn to the other side of the coin. It's got to be an 50-50 way. If they do good, you cheer them. If they do bad, you got to critique them. I'm sorry. That's life. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we move on to the next topic? It's something that you're excited to talk about. It's something that I could potentially get a lot of booze. I might get some booze here. I know that you have the padded room ready for me. You have them on
everyone
speed
in the
dial.
chat, just so you know, put a 1 if you want me to call the psychological ward for BoomStick. Put a 2 if you want me to give him at least 1 more week to regain his sanity. I've already booked him in for a green padded room. It's got nice little lime green pillows and stuff, so you'll feel right as rain in there. Boom.
Right. Now they can answer that question as soon as I'm done talking about the topic. But real quick before, Scrub Nurse with the outstanding $5 super chat. Can't wait for E3 and future news. Do you guys think the media will still have the PS bias, or are you starting to see the turnaround towards Xbox? Here's the thing. Depending on who you talk to, some people believe that there's no media bias. I'm going to have to call them out on that because I don't agree. I think that there has been blatant media bias on Xbox, and I think that what may happen, like I said, the ship is turning a little bit, and the way you see that is when you get the IGN guys buying an Xbox One X because Red Dead Redemption 2 it looks better and plays better. And they're tweeting it, and you're starting to see a little bit of the turn. Is it going to be overnight? No, it's certainly not. But if Project the next Xbox or in the Anaconda is as powerful as I think it is, again, it's what sells clicks, folks. It's not actually when it comes to the mainstream media, and I've been watching it for a very long time. Obviously I've been gaming for over 40 years, so I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And this generation, you saw a lot of the ugly when it came to the Xbox platform and its fans. We got shit on a regular basis. I'm sorry, I don't like to curse, but that's the sad reality. But when and if, again, it's a big if, Microsoft does everything that we hope that they do, right? We've seen the groundwork, right? We just have to make sure that the foundation is there. We know the first party is coming. They did a big hire with to get the second and third parties in line. We know in 2019 they're really going strong with third-party marketing. So the writing is on the wall. So if all of this comes together in a perfect storm, then yes, I can see the media forgetting about the PlayStation and kind of moving towards the Xbox because it's going to be the more powerful system. It has more going on for it that we know. We don't know what's going on with Sony because they don't have anything to show, right? We only heard rumors. We know a lot of what Microsoft is doing because they're being very transparent once again about that. But let's move on to the next topic, and this is where, again, if you boo me, I hear you. Well, look. There is someone on Twitter. I think it's a group of guys called GeoWar Declassified on Twitter @GOW Declassified, and they posed a really interesting question on Twitter, which I responded to. I did a very long paragraph, a lot of good points. And I said it in the beginning, I'm going to get booed. But guess what? That's not what happened. Surprisingly enough, it got a significant amount of retweets and favorites. And a lot of people commented on it, which I thought was absolutely amazing. And here was the question: if you could make one major change in Gears 5, what would it be and why? So I answered this question very openly, very honestly, very transparent, if you will. Okay. And here we go. I think that Gears of War 5 absolutely needs to be somewhat open world. And what I mean by that, and I can hear the rumblings, I can see the unfollows, I can see the subscriptions being lost on YouTube any second now. The reason why I say that is this. As it stands, we have had a total of 5 Gears of War games. And that's right, I'm including Judgment, because guess what? I actually really enjoyed that game. I know a lot of people didn't, find whatever. I enjoyed it. But when I say open world, I'm not saying that, they're going to be, it's going to be like God of War. I'm not saying open world God of War. I'm not saying open world Fallout 76 or Red Dead Redemption 2. What I'm saying is that at its core, there's a few things that when you talk about the Gears franchise come to mind. Incredible, strong multiplayer, right? Incredible graphics, well-told story, corridor shooters like no one's business, big, bulky, Hulk-looking guys slamming themselves against walls, chainsawing the shit out of people, and we all love that. But at the same time, one of my biggest critiques of the game is I'm a fan of the universe, right? I love the Gears lore. But I don't know nothing about it because I don't read the books. I only bought a couple of the comics. So if you're a guy like me or a gal like me, and you play the games and you love what the stories that they're telling you in these closed games, and you're not going outside of the box, the Xbox to play on, you don't really get a chance to know the lore. And one of the things I've always wanted to do is explore the world of Gears, to see what the world looks like past burnt out cars and crumbling buildings and burnt trees and cog tags in a corner. Because, when you play these games, there are only so many locations or avenues you can go. It's usually just a straight run, A, B, C, boss, move on to the next level. Where I would like to see the Gears franchise be taken, and I believe that they've already discussed this publicly, that this is going to be a very different kind of Gears, is that I want a map. I want to be able to look at a map. I want to be able to say, okay, as a gamer, I have a choice of whether or not I want to just plow through the story, straight A, B, C, D, boss, beat the game, great, right? But my kind of game playing, the reason why I put over 60 hours into God of War and many, single player games like that, is simply because I spend a lot of time looking for everything, all collectibles, every nook and cranny. I look at the burnt cars, but I want to see what the vegetation looks like. I want to see buildings in the distance. I want to see something I may not be able to get to, but I see it and I take a picture of it and I post it up on Twitter. This is what I want from Gears 5. I want to be able to look at a map and say, okay, main mission is here. This is where you're going next. But we have a couple of question marks pop up on the map that are side stories that you could overpass or just completely, forget about and play a straight Gears game. But if you're an inquisitive kind of gamer like I am, that want to explore the lore and see other side missions, they're there for you. Okay, now I've spoken enough about it. I don't know. I haven't got a chance to, he said, someone says here, boom, it's a little early to have been drinking. That's a great one. Drew, I want to hand it over to you. Are you on the phone with the psych ward, or do I make a point and you're hanging up the phone?
Right. I'm going to be frank. You make a good point, but I'm just gonna just say what I think, and you can make your own assumption on how close we are to agreeing. Because I get what you're saying, at the same time, I don't. But literally, for me, right? For me, the question, what is the one major change that I would make to Gears of War for Gears of War 5? Take that word change. For me personally, Boom. The word for me isn't change, but specifically, I'm using the word growth. Now,
Okay.
what I mean by that is I don't want them to change anything. I don't want them to change anything that I've come to know and love from a Gears game. I don't want them to change a damn thing. Do not change any of the mechanics or the fundamentals of Gears, i.e., for example, the D-pad gun switching mechanic, the active reload mechanic, just a couple of examples. But to add to that, and this is where I do not want it to change, I do not want to see a level up system for my character.
Okay.
I don't want to see a level up system for my weapon. I don't want to see a rank number or a color scheme like, say, Fortnite. Like, the green gun is good, but you go green, blue, purple, orange, gold, and then gold is the best version of that gun. I don't want any of that shit. I don't want any gun attachments or prestige modes or anything of that effect. So just to sum up where I'm going with this point, I do not want Gears to change. I do not want Gears to go and specifically, which might, you might start booing me at this point, Boom, but I don't want to see Gears go the traditional open world RPG route.
Gotcha. Okay.
That I want to be 1,000,000% clear on. Now, with that said, I want to see growth. Now, what the fuck is growth, Mr. Welsh Gamer? What are you on about? What's growth? By that, I mean this, and only this. I want the story missions to remain as they have always been, a tactical corridor cover shooter. But where the growth comes in, what I keep alluding to, is two things specifically. Have chapters of the game dedicated to other playable characters in the story, which is something Gears has never done before. So so using the word growth, you're expanding the story to more than just one person. We've had 3 games where you're playing as Marcus. We've had one game where you're playing as Baird. We've had a whole game where you've played as JD. Why not in this game have a chapter where you play as Kate, a chapter where you play as JD, a chapter where you play as bloody Dell, a chapter where you play as Marcus,
yes,
like, and maybe even a chapter where you play as the descendant of the Locust Queen, like, or one of the bosses over there on the Swarm side of things. I don't know. I'm just saying, growth, expand. Don't necessarily change anything. Just give us more of the same thing. Now, second on my list on what they can do to grow the game and expand is replace the loading screens. So what we've come to see in previous Gears, like, you finish a mission and then you've got a loading screen and then you're on the next mission. Just replace the loading screen between missions with the ability to travel to your next mission via vehicles we have never been afforded the ability to use in previous Gears games, which is true. We've never really, there was like one mission on Gears of War 1 where you got in one of those bloody tank things.
Yes.
There's one mission where you're on the turret of a helicopter. There's one mission where you're on the back of a motorbike. Give me the ability to actually drive these vehicles. Like you said, like that you got to drive from here to here to go to the next mission. That I'm happy with because it's a little bit of exploration. You're expanding without actually changing anything. Like with these two things in place, Boom. So specifically, number 1, more chapters dedicated to other playable characters to learn about more people, more characters, more story, more depth. And secondly, replace the loading screens between the missions with the ability to travel, to just get a taste of the world without actually diving headfirst into, like I said, a traditional open world RPG. Just a little taster would be fine. And with these two things added, Boom, for me, you simply expand the experience, or as I like to say, grow the Gears of War experience without actually changing any of the fundamentals that fans like me of the series absolutely love. So that's where I come in on this, Boom. I'm of a mind where change, I don't want to see any change because Gears of War, I think, is fine the way it is. Halo, when it concerns Halo, change is good for many reasons. I could name a list, but we're talking about Gears now. I think Gears doesn't need to change drastically. It just needs to be expanded upon. Just give us a bigger taste of the pie with the things I mentioned. That's my opinion.
No, I mean, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not booing you. I'm applauding you because what you said was fantastic. I agree with you. I don't think that you want a weapon upgrade system. I don't think you want an RPG esque leveling up your character kind of a thing. Because it is not God of War. It's not The Witcher 3. It's Gears of War, and you want to keep
Yeah,
it as Gears of War. But at the same time, I like where you're going with the traveling from point to point in a vehicle. I like that idea. I think that's something that, yes, the series has not seen a big amount of vehicle usage. But at the same time, I don't want to follow a cookie cutter story. Yes, I would. The main story you're gonna play through it, and it's gonna have its ups and downs. People are gonna die, people are gonna live. There's gonna be big battles, bosses, chainsawing. I want all of that, but at the same time, I want the ability to explore. That's number one, and two, I think the side quest, request, if you will, is something that it's a far difference from from the standard series that we all know and love, but it will give it an edge. It'll give you something to do because, like I said, Gears of War for me, right? Like I know you play multiplayer. I don't. I never buy Gears of War for multiplayer. I never have. I've played it. I've enjoyed it, but it's something I don't go back to. I would rather, be an open world, multiplayer. Like I'd rather do co-op with people. Like 4-player co-op or 2-player co-op. That's a multiplayer that I enjoy because I enjoy the story. But I want to see some sort of side stories. I want to see something that if you, again, I leave it up to the gamer. If you're a person that just likes a straight story, you don't want to be bothered with anything on the side, I hear you. But, for people who want that, it should be there. Again, this was a great topic. I know you were really jonesing to talk about it. But you know what? Let's talk about something. Like I'm gonna look at my notes real quick. Drew, both of us have talked privately about VR in the past. But as long as we've been doing the show, we've never really talked about VR on the Xbox Factor podcast. And I want to give a big shout out. The reason I bring this up is an outstanding community member known as Old School G on Twitter was asking the community if Xbox VR should become a thing, and not only did I answer the question with a big fat hell yeah, the community seemed very interested in the topic. So I thought it'd make an excellent talking point for today's show. Now, of course, when you talk about VR, I don't talk about the PC because I don't game on PC. I have a Surface that I run this show on, and I would never, even if I had a $5,000 rig, I wouldn't play on it because I don't care. I don't want to worry about drivers and shit like that. I just want to pop the game in, download it, call it a day, and play on my console. But when you talk about VR, you have to bring Sony into the equation. And Sony launched their PSVR in October of 2016, on October 13th, more specifically. And though it's not a surprise, Boom was, of course, a day one buyer, along with every VR title at launch. I was all in on VR. I still have my PlayStation VR. I love it. I enjoy it. Do I play it every day? Absolutely not. But there have been some titles like Super Hot VR, fantastic. Moss, Rescue Bot is another fantastic title. There's been so many of them that are just really good. And then, to their credits, I will be very, vocal about, it seemed as if PlayStation was abandoning the PlayStation VR, like they did with the Vita. It didn't sell. I mean, I think it's like 3 or 4% of the, 100, near 100 million consoles. So I think 4%. I mean, I'll even go crazy and say 5% of the populace have it. It sold well enough for them to continue making games for it, but at the same time, now you got to ask yourself, what were they doing? Were they going to abandon it? But they did turn it around with a few of the games I mentioned, including Tetris Effect, which is amazing. The recently released Ace Combat 7 has VR missions for the PS4, which is fantastic. But it's, let me just say this. It's safe to assume that Phil Spencer and company are a bit hesitant to want to invest anything in regards to Xbox peripherals simply because of the debacle of the Kinect 2.0, and I completely understand that. But Drew, here's my question: being that Xbox Lockhart and Xbox Anaconda are going to be very powerful consoles, is it time for Microsoft to give VR a shot? What do you take on
Do you know what, Boom? I can smell the booze coming already. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it'll be your turn to phone in the psychiatric ward and book me in a room. I don't know. But I'm going to go in on this one because I feel like I bring a solid case on this. It's not just an answer, Boom. I think I bring a solid case in terms of like a very logical and smart business decision for Microsoft. Now, to just get started, putting things into perspective, you're a bit and ahhing on uncertainties, but it was, in fact, just less than 5% of PS4 owners own PSVR.
Yes.
Now, a quick calculation in the calculator, Boom, that equates to 4,250,000 approximate PS4 owners out of the 85 million plus. So it's an approximation, it's an estimation, that's a random number, but really, if we're looking at the 85 million units sold, like, you know, and that's without even thinking that it's probably more near to the 100 million units sold, 4 million out of 85 million is not great. And if we were to do that exact same equation for the Xbox, being that it's around the speculated to be around the 45 million units sold, which is 2-to-1 to PlayStation currently, the equivalent for that same equation, Boom, for Xbox now would be just over 2 million people out of 45 million. Right. So as I know, the reason I went out of my way to do this, Boom, is because I know you're a numbers guy. You like analytics, so I went all out. And from these equations, we can say this at least: numbers don't lie. And VR, while an awesome idea, believe me, I think it really is. I think there's a lot of promise in the future. But right now, it is not even close to being mainstream. For that reason, I think that Xbox would be absolute fools to sink any of their own money into a first-party VR headset. By all means, honestly, Boom, by all means, make third-party headsets compatible.
Yes.
So for the minority of people that might want to use it, the option is there. But do not, Microsoft, Phil, everyone, listen to me. Do not waste any money on your own headset. These numbers I provided you, Boom, plus the unforgettable disaster with Kinect 2.0, I honestly think that Xbox has long since learned their lesson. Yeah, they know better. Let's be real. They know better than to put too much money into a niche product. They learned the hard way. They literally learned the hard way. Until VR is hitting huge sales figures and quite literally is as mainstream as a Blu-ray DVD player, which, let's be real, is, you can pretty much guarantee that 90+% of the human race have a Blu-ray DVD player. So that's the kind of like mainstream I'm talking. Until VR is hitting those kind of sales figures, I would not expect Microsoft to put any of their own money on it, period. I think they'd be fools to. The evidence precedes itself. Even just look at PlayStation VR, the first proper VR headset for consoles. While I applaud the fact you're enjoying it, Boom, and I hope people are, whoever has bought one, I hope they're having a blast. But still, numbers don't lie. The fact that out of 85+ million people, only 4 million have bought into this machine says a lot. And I just think Microsoft have bigger fish to fry. Like, they got more important and more pressing matters to put their money and invest their money into, like the acquisitions of all these studios with more to come. Put your energy into those things. I just think even while Lockhart and Anaconda are going to be very powerful and probably more than enough power that is sufficient to operate a VR headset, probably it would be a piece of piss. I bet it would be so easy for them right now. But because of money and bad decisions in the past, I just think Xbox, if they did put loads of money into a VR headset for the Xbox right now, I'd be scratching my head thinking, have you not learnt anything this generation? Like, did you not see what happened with Connect 2.0? Have you not seen what's happened with PSVR? It's a waste of money right now. It might be different in 10 years. Maybe we might be doing Xbox Factor 10 years from now, Boom, and you might ask me this question. What do you think about VR? And I might say to you, mate, it's in everyone's home. They'd be stupid not to invest money in their own headset.
The greatest thing since sliced bread. That's what you're going to tell me.
Yeah, exactly. But right now, let's call a spade a spade. It's not the case. Xbox, don't waste your money. Just give the console the ability to house third-party headsets and move it along. That's my opinion.
No, I kind of want to just I want to talk about what you said, because you do make sense, and I agree with you 1,000%. I don't want to see Microsoft do their own hardware. I don't, because we know what happened. They're gun shy, and I don't blame them. But it would be great if they teamed up with one of the headset makers, right? And they said, okay, we're going to partner with you. It's going to be a third-party peripheral, but we would like it to match the console. Maybe make it white, or make it say Xbox on there or something. And that would be great, because it would be a marketing deal with a third party, company that's going to actually make the device. And then that's where you can get your Play Anywhere, right? Like that would be involved, because you could turn around and say, okay, this headset is going to work on the PC, but also it's going to work on your Xbox. You plug it in this way, because we know that the headsets are now going wireless. They're getting less and less with the wires, and I think that's what Phil Spencer said in an interview. They'll get involved in VR once the wires are gone, where it's just a unit on your head. And I think that would be the right way to go. Again, I agree with you that they are gun shy, and I would not race to make my own peripheral. I would team up with someone who knows what they're doing, who has already been in the market for a couple of years. So that's a great point. We have one last topic to talk about, but I just have to say this. I normally don't call people out in the chat, because everyone is entitled to their opinion. But I have to address this, because I'm the host and it's my goddamn show. Okay. Thompson Gamer. I put him on a timeout, and I don't want to have to block you, guy. If you're still listening, let me just say this. This is an Xbox show. You apparently are a PlayStation guy, and I hear you. I understand that's your brand. But what I will not take, what I will not accept, is that you're going to come into my chat and start shitting all over the Xbox just to be a dick. Don't do that, because if you've been listening to me for years, if you've been listening to this show all day, I have been praising Sony on many occasions. And you know what? If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I learned that when I was 5. My pop taught me that. And I'm going to say this. If you're a PlayStation guy, then maybe this show just isn't for you. And I totally understand that. If you subbed me and you dislike what I'm saying, I encourage you to unsub me. Stop following me on Twitter if you are. Because, again, I don't want to lose fans, but I'm also going to call you out if you're going to be a dick in the chat. This chat has been known to be one of the better chats on YouTube. I'm proud of that, and I will defend that. I care about everybody in this chat that supports this channel, and if you're going to come and try and ruin it for everyone, I'm going to have to drop the ban hammer on you. And if you keep making up different accounts, trust me, I'm relentless. I'll know who you are, and I will ban you every time. So please come here, hang out, enjoy the chat, have some fun. And if you're not enjoying the show, I say 2 things. 1, don't listen. That's number 1. Number 2, do me a favor and hit the thumbs down button. Tell me that you're not enjoying it. But, be a man about it and tell me why you're not enjoying it. And maybe I can help make you enjoy this, and I'll make some changes in the future. But you know what? Enough of him. Let's talk about the last topic, February's Games with Gold. Look, I got to be honest with you, folks. I've been hearing some 50-50 with this, and I have to be the rah-rah guy here. I really like this month for a couple of reasons. First of all, I was a supporter of the Bloodstained public, when they're trying to get public funding, a Kickstarter. I joined in on that. Because I love Castlevania. I'm an old school cat. and I appreciate side scrollers. And when I originally did this, I didn't know that I was also going to get Bloodstained Curse of the Moon. And I'm telling you right now, that is an incredible game if you like Castlevanias. It's hard as balls. The boss battles, man, it makes you just want to throw your controller like they did back in the days. I highly recommend this game. That's a fantastic Xbox One helping. Bomberman R. Okay, yes. Okay, again, I'm an old school cat. I played on the TurboGrafx 16 way back in the days where Bomberman started by Hudson. And I loved playing it with my brother Neo Mental and plenty of our friends. This Bomberman R was originally a Switch exclusive, and now we're getting it, and it has a Master Chief skin. That comes with the game and exclusive to the Xbox, obviously, because it's Master Chief. Assassin's Creed Rogue, guess what? It's one of the few Assassin's Creed games I didn't play. And yes, I know that there's an HD version, but I'm not going to pay $20 for that because I could play it for free. And the 360 version is probably going to get some sort of X enhancements. And I mean, what could you say about Jedi Academy? It's, first of all, yeah, I understand it's an old Star Wars game, but guess what? It's one of the best Star Wars games to date. And it's an OG Xbox game. It's probably going to have some sort of enhancements. I am loving this month, but Welsh, I want to know what you're saying.
I'll be honest. Of the four that they've shown, Rogue One tickles my Rogue One. Assassin's Creed Rogue like popped out because I haven't actually played that, and my younger brother has because he's a huge Assassin's Creed head, and he said it's one of the best Assassin's Creed they've ever made. But in all honesty, without my brother's opinion, the only one out of those four that pops out of me, and I gotta be honest, Boo, I'm very excited to play it, and that is the Star Wars Jedi Knight Academy. Because call me a fraud. Again, ring the bloody, get my room settled and ready for me, Boom. But I didn't even know that game existed until like yesterday.
Okay.
Honestly, I've heard of like Knights of the Old Republic and Battlefront and a few others like pod racing.
It's
and stuff
so
like that,
good,
but
dude.
I've never heard of Jedi Knight Academy, so I am very excited. It'll be like a brand new game for me. Granted, it'll be a bit dated, but hopefully, well, not hopefully. Knights of the Old Republic had the 1X enhancement, so I fully expect this one to as well, and I'm very looking forward to play it.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, I understand, when you say free, everyone's like, oh my God, these are not free, Boom. Stop saying the word free. It's part of the service. I understand that. I completely understand that. But you're getting 4 games a month. And look, someone said in the chat, and I missed your name. I'm sorry. The chat's really going, fantastic. Gaming Forte just joined. Welcome, dude. Thank you so much for being here. Not every game is going to be for you, and I understand that. But for Boom, February month, for February's, helpings, I'm just lapping them up. I can't. I'm excited because, like I said, I have Bloodstain. All right, I have Curse of the Moon. I have it. So I'm not going to take advantage. But what that does for me is I get to shout out this game to everyone who's an old school cat like myself who likes Castlevania type titles, Metrovanias, if you will. This is a fantastic title that not a lot of people got a chance to play. Now you can, and for free. Bomberman R, guess what? It's a great multiplayer game, and it has a Master Chief skin. I mean, come on, that's freaking awesome. Rogue One. Holy shit. Assassin's Creed Rogue, I never played, and one of my favorite Assassin's Creeds is Black Flag, and this is very reminiscent of that. So I'm excited. And Jedi Knight Academy. I mean, look, I own the game. It's in storage, but I'm not going to dig that out. I will actually play this game. So I'm stoked. I know like I said, I'm glad that you're going to experience it because Jedi Knight Academy is heralded as one of the best Star Wars games to date. And the fact that you're going to get to experience it now, I'm actually kind of jealous there.
Oh mate, I literally can't wait to play that. Being that 48 hours ago I didn't know the bastard thing existed, it's just made it even more exciting because I love Star Wars and I've played a lot of the older games. I honestly, again, I know I'm a fraud, I'm sorry, but I literally had no idea. So I'm really excited. Out of the 4 of those, that's the number one that is on my radar. Can't wait.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm going to say this. This has been one hell of a show. probably, in my opinion, I like to, I constantly flip flop, but these shows keep getting better. The chat keeps getting more and more people. We had almost 140 people watching live, which is just completely bananas. This is a small channel. This is a small show. It's growing. I remember, Welsh, when we had 51 people watching, and
Oh,
now
mate, how times have changed. I'm
yeah,
so proud of everyone who supports us. It's an
yeah.
amazing feeling.
It really is. I mean, there's so many people that keep coming back, and I'm glad, folks. Listen, we do this for you. We do it because we love Xbox. We do it because we love gaming, and we're going to continue to do this each and every week. Like I said, I'm sick as a dog, but I would not have missed this show for anything. I'm not sure if you can hear it in my voice. I've been sick since Saturday, but I refuse to miss these shows. So, like I said, hashtag the show must go on. But Welsh, look, we did this as a partnership, but your channel is important to me. I want to see it grow. I know you said that February some big changes are coming in the form of more videos. Tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, and more importantly, subscribe to your channel. It's going to have some big content coming.
Yep. No, I'm a man of my word, guys. Anyone who even remotely likes the sound of my voice as much as I do, anyway, get your ass over to my channel, and I implore that you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon and give it a chance. I mean, if my first few videos that come February, my first video is back, I should say. I've done plenty of videos, but come February, so tomorrow onwards, is my start to the 2019 New Year resolution, if you will, to make my channel a very consistent channel. I'm going to be putting out minimum of one video a week, and I'm very excited to get back into the thick of it. So go over to my channel, The Welsh Gamer, hit that subscribe button, give it a chance. Feel free to unsubscribe if you think it's shit. I will not blame you. But I'm going to have some fun this year, Boom. I've said it pretty much since the beginning of December. I've been saying to myself, like, do you know what? I want to get right back into the thick of it. I'm enjoying my podcasting with yours truly, and I'm very looking forward to getting back into creating some content on my channel. So you can expect at least one video a week from me, guys, starting tomorrow onwards. 1st of February is where I hit the on button. So yeah, awesome. And obviously Twitter at the Welsh Gamer 93. Feel free to follow, DM me if there's a topic you want me to talk about. Forward it my way, and I'll put it on the list. That's all I got for you, Boom. Once again, absolutely epic show. Everyone in the chat, you are awesome week in, week out. Love every one of you. That's all I got this week. See you next week, guys. Take it easy, Boom.
Well, listen, thanks again for being here. I have to I have to say this because I don't feel obligated. I want to say it because I mean it from my heart. The generosity from the folks in the chat is just, it's emotional. It is extremely well taken. I cannot thank you enough. Again, I don't do this for money, but your generosity really, it humbles me as a human being. And I don't expect anything. And it's just, again, it's just so nice to see that what we're doing, people care enough to want to give to the show. That's amazing. So thank you so much for that. Again, the chat for 99.3% of today's show was really good. We had one penis show up and try to ruin it for everyone, but he did get timed out and eventually got blocked. So again, usually the chat polices themselves, but I feel responsible to make sure that you guys are having a great time. And there's enough internet hate that they don't have to come to this show to do it. And if they do, they will get the ban hammer. Again, thank you, a big thank you to UK Dazarus and Lethal Papa. I trust them very, very much that I would give them the ability to do that. They are quality community people. Everyone in the chat was amazing. And again, thanks for tuning in. And we will see you next week on the latest episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Thanks again for hanging out.